The commanding officer ordered us to cut off the heads of the men and hang them on the village palisades, also their sexual members, and to hang the women and the children on the palisade in the form of a cross. I'm Shooey, and this is Strangeful Things.
Sheltering in place is not advised, as your survival cannot be ensured in that scenario.
Well, this practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated.
Strangeful Things.
Now, that was a spicy opening, eh? Well, we'll get to that little nugget in a bit, but first, welcome everybody to another episode of Strangeful Things. I'm here with my bestest pals, Acadia and Mells. What's new with you two? Any government agents roll up on you after the QAnon episode?
Well, none here, thankfully, but it's
You're
cold.
in a disputed state, too.
Yeah, I know. And it's cold as a witch's tit here, and I am under an electric blanket as we speak.
Nice.
Damn.
Yes, I'm cozy.
Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
72. What a dick. Actually, it's pretty been nice here, too. It's been in the 70s 5 days in a row now. The longest ever in November.
Man.
For New York. Yeah.
So I saw a funny TikTok. Well, I saw a bunch of funny TikToks, but I'll do the TikTok of the week because it was this guy going, "It's Nevada, not Nevada." And then some girl duetted it and said, "Well, you better be Nevadan up them votes."
That's amazing.
I had called it Nevada my whole life.
So
it's
did I.
Nevada. I got schooled real quick.
What's it like? What does the name come from somewhere?
Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea.
All right.
But I got schooled really quickly, especially with my accent. So,
Well, it's the first time for everything you be in school.
Yeah.
Zing.
Good one.
What about you there, Acadia?
Well, other than my cool TikTok,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's TikTok. Never mind.
I've been watching lots of videos about a car I want to buy.
Yeah, what kind of car?
Yeah, I'm not going to say.
Nautilus?
No, not the Nautilus. It's too big.
Oh,
And
the
it
other
doesn't
one.
have the Corsair one.
Corsair, yeah.
Yeah,
That is
because
very
that's
nice.
actually, it's smaller, but it has cooler gadgets and shit in it. So,
Yeah, I'm all about this shit that's in it.
yep. It's not like it's not like I needed to haul a refrigerator.
Exactly.
Also, looking at videos of cars is free. So, in case you don't like your car, just look up
Exactly.
videos of other better cars. Because
Isn't that
Look at how cool this is.
yeah, it is pretty
I'm
cool.
going to dream of having that.
Dream,
That's about it.
dream.
They should do that for like the VR sets. Like, here you are driving a Ferrari. Like, why don't they have like those driving games and stuff? Those would be perfect for that.
I want to do that, and I want to just have a fan on, like, while I have the goggles on, so my hair is like blowing around.
What's the point of driving if you don't have special goggles?
Well, what am I, a dog?
Yeah.
My eyes get dried out.
That's right. And you better have those gloves on, too.
That's true.
You
For
don't need to protect your fingers, only your hands and your palms.
That's right. That's so that you
Fingers
don't
out.
lose your grip on the steering wheel, but you can sort mail real quick if you have to.
All right. Well, we got a lot to talk to. My new and good is that the script, because that was my whole week last week. Other than trying to not watch the news, so
You found the only thing that was actually worse than the news.
Yeah.
I think I may have. So, yeah, good for me. All right, everybody. So, like many of my episodes, I've had 3. I dug really deep in doing the research. Unlike Acadia, who just watches Unsolved Mysteries.
You bitch.
So this week's episode is going to be the first of 2. All right. This history about a man responsible for the deaths of up to 15 million people really fucked with my head. And I hope you'll come out of it better than I did, because I'm a fucking lunatic right now. So that 15 million number isn't without its detractors, and we'll talk about that later and stuff. The generally accepted number is actually around 10 million. But regardless of whether it was 5 million, 15 million, 10 million, whatever, it's still pretty fucking awful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you would think that someone with such a murderous resume would be like someone we all know, like someone all people would see like this historically terrible person, like a Hitler or a Stalin. But in truth, we don't really think about him at all. And we don't even know that this guy even existed. All right.
What?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. We're going to talk about that too. So don't worry, we'll get to it. And you see, this episode also has a little Shooey message too. And that message was, I know you hate my messages, but just because you didn't learn something, either growing up or even just whatever, doesn't mean it didn't fucking happen. All right. We need to keep ourselves open to new shit, or else why the fuck are we here? No, I'm serious. I'm asking you guys, why are we here?
Well, you mean in like from an existential standpoint? Why not?
Well, Professor, I believe it all happened when a man loved a woman.
I believe the same thing that I believed in college, Shooey, the thing that came from the Exorcist 3 book, that we're performing Satan's penance. And once humans get good enough at stuff, then Satan will get forgiven and get to go back to heaven.
Oh, that's
Because
nice.
all of the universe is made out of Satan.
What seems good is that we seem to really be progressing in that direction. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's a little bit of a bumpy road. I'll admit that.
It hasn't been all smooth sailing for us people.
We're not really hurtling towards absolution.
Well, for most folks, what you're going to hear in this episode and the next is going to be all new information. And we're going to be talking about a lot. So get those thinking caps on and get ready.
Oh.
And I still haven't said even who we're talking about.
Nope.
And I'd ask you two to guess, but I would think you'd at least have looked ahead to page 2 of the script, so we won't do that.
I looked at the file name.
Oh, yeah, I guess there's that.
Wow. Overachiever here.
But I will give our wonderful listeners the opportunity to guess. And in honor of the passing of the great Canadian Alex Trebek, here is today's Final Jeopardy answer. The category is genocidaires. It's actually a French word. There is no English word for person who commits a genocide, so I took the French one. This 19th and 20th century monarch who ruled over a nation the size and whiteness of Kansas is believed to be responsible for the deaths of 10 million Africans. La da 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 la 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 la. You get the point. I wasn't going to use the real thing because it's copyrighted, so that's what you get. The Final Jeopardy question is...
Ding, 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 ding. Who is King Leopold II of Belgium?
Yes! Another Leopold. From now on, every episode I write is going to be about a Leopold. We have Leopold Mozart, Amadeus Mozart's fuck of a father. Then there's Leopold Stotch.
That's Butters from South Park. Oh, hamburgers. One of the many animated series that I enjoy while sipping apple teenies on the lanai.
I was so proud of that. Oh, well, I guess there aren't too many famous Leopolds.
Well, there's the cartoon one where they all go, Leopold, Leopold, Leopold.
He was a conductor, right? Leopold.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Well, did either of you guys ever hear of this guy before, like right now? And if you did, what do you know about him?
I know absolutely nothing. But then again, if you didn't learn it in school, then there was never a Revolutionary War, because I never really learned about that either.
Well, I know this is going to be a shock, but no, I had never heard of this guy until now.
Yeah, well, I never heard of him before like a couple of weeks ago.
Well, where did you hear about him then?
The same place I get my other ideas, from Quora.
Oh.
And for those of you who don't know, Quora is a website that you can ask any question and like any question. And here are a few of questions that were recently posted.
Which character in Avatar: The Last Airbender do you believe should have gotten more screen time?
If an astronaut collected a jar full of space while on a spacewalk and came back to Earth to study it, what would the contents of the jar consist of?
If you put a psychopath into a small room with 1,000 tarantulas, would it be so disgusting and terrifying that it forces fear into him?
These are all real, by the way.
Why did Karen Allen have such a mediocre movie career after Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Whoa. That is unfair. She was in both The Sandlot and my favorite Christmas movie, Scrooged. So...
Yeah, take that, Quora.
Take that, Quora.
And the Karen that asked it.
And you made fun of Unsolved Mysteries? You basically read Yahoo Answers.
No, I honestly, all I do is whatever, and this feeds into, we were talking about watching The Social Dilemma. This feeds into that whole thing. I watch what they give me on Quora. And that's, I guess, because I've clicked on shit about some crazy shit, I get some crazy shit. But as you can see, there are a lot of people out there with some really deep questions on their minds. But sometimes someone will post something interesting. Not that the last Airbender isn't interesting, but sometimes you'll get something like this one I noticed.
Who are the most evil humans in history that most people have never heard of?
Right. So I read some of the answers, and the one that really took was Leopold II. But before we get into his reign, and if you believe what they continue to teach in Belgium, all the wonderful things he did for the people of Africa, here is some background on Leo, as I hear he liked to be called. So Leopold Ludwig Philips Maria Victor, or Leo II, was born on April 9th, 1835, to King Leopold I of Belgium and Louise Marie of Orleans. Leo I and Louise Marie didn't exactly have like what you would call a loving marriage. Leo I was really known to screw around. Like they'd even like have like political cartoons and shit about it. And in fact, in 1844, right after the birth of his fourth child, Leo II's sister, Charlotte, Leo I met a 16-year-old girl named Arcadie Claret. And the fact that he was 54 at the time, while gross, didn't stop him. You see, this is what I was talking about in the QAnon episode. You know, back in olden times, people didn't marry younger, women did. And it wasn't for love. It was because they were traded off like fucking livestock or sold off for alliances or whatever the fucking reason men came up with. It's just fucking gross. So Leo I ended up having 2 sons with this woman, or this girl. I guess she was a woman at some point. And he made her a baroness for her, you know, spending time with them, and made both of the boys barons. So I guess it really is who you fuck. I mean, no. Now, like I was saying, it was.
That might
I
not
appreciate
supposed to
the
be
laughter.
funny. That might not
I
supposed to be
appreciate that.
funny.
That's all right. It was public knowledge that Leo 1 fucked around, and it's actually not even known how many half siblings Leo 2 ultimately had. And so, understandably, this made Louise Marie miserable. But unfortunately for Leo 2, she took it out on him. She would make fun of his big nose, telling him he looked like a beak. She even went as far as to call him disfigured.
Oh, that's terrible.
Poor Leo 2. Poor Leo
shit.
2.
Come and bring me
All right.
my Fruit Loops there, Toucan Sam.
Oh,
Toucan.
no. No.
Whatever the 19th century equivalent of Fruit Loops was.
Oh.
What my nose knows. Oh, God. Now, Leo 2 was filled to the brim with ancestral European royal blood. He was first cousins with Queen Victoria of the UK, and his mother was the daughter of King Louis Philippe of France. Grandpa had to flee France from the French Revolution of 1848, not the one we all actually know about, a different one. And King Gramps didn't last very long once he was outside of France. He actually died in 1850. And unfortunately, this really fucked up Louise Marie, and her health deteriorated, and she died that same year of the consumption.
Ooh.
Or as we say today, tuberculosis. Did y'all know that while tuberculosis isn't like an issue here, it's still a fucking top 10 killer in the world, killing over 1 million people a year?
For fuck's sake, Mr. Science. Stop. We're supposed to feel bad about the story, not the little ancillary things you tell us around the story.
Yeah, I know, but I shut up. I have a little more info I got to do. Now, too bad. If you want to write every episode, then first, let's just focus for a minute on the fact that a disease that was basically fucking cured for the part of the world with money like 70 years ago, it was 1949 to be exact, is still a fucking issue in the world today. And just to beat that point home, diarrhea is still a top 10 fucking killer in the world.
Dysentery.
We are so fucking sheltered here in the U.S. Like, granted, I'm good with that, like, because I'm a fucking sissy and I need all the sheltering I get. And that's the more you know.
But what if you had dysentery and tuberculosis? Can you imagine that combination?
It would create a vacuum in your middle.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's terrible.
You become like a dwarf star.
This is what I got out of that information is
Collapse upon yourself.
coughing and shitting your pants at the same time.
I'm sorry, Doctor.
God,
He was
monsters.
sliding into home and his pants were full of foam.
Diarrhea. Cha-cha-cha.
When you slide into first and you feel a juicy burst.
Diarrhea. Cha-cha-cha. When you're coming into third and you feel a big old turd, diarrhea. Sorry.
Oh, we're children.
Sorry.
It's okay.
This is good radio. All
right, so back
this
to
is what
Leo.
the people come for.
This is what they come for. A couple of years later, in 1853, 18-year-old Leo II and 16-year-old Marie Henriette of Austria were joined in a lovely arranged marriage, which, like I said earlier, was meant to bring legitimacy to the Belgian monarchy. You see,
18 and 16 is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still gross though. Like I guess it's legit. I guess it's legit.
I mean, it's gross because there were like old people shoving them together and trying to make them fucking a big powdery mess, but still.
Yeah, basically she's being traded to make Belgium look like it's more than it is.
I'm just saying that if you were 17.
The idea of an 18 and a 16-year-old getting married isn't the gross part. It's the forcing of them to get married and why they're doing it and stuff. to me is
So,
gross.
like, if a 17-year-old has a 15-year-old girlfriend or boyfriend, and then they turn 18, does that immediately make them a criminal?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
You should
I don't
have
know
to
the law.
register. It's like a reverse sex offender registry.
Have like a card.
Yeah, show a bunch of pictures and like birthday presents that you got each other from when you were younger to prove that you were a couple.
Oh God.
This was me on my 14th birthday.
Yes, here's a picture of the tree where I carved our initials.
Yeah.
God. All right, well, let's get back to this because this is long. Now, so the reason Belgium needed this legitimacy was because it had only become an independent country in 1830, so it was still like a baby country. But it was nice to see this young love between Marie Henriette and Leo II, except both kids, having come from exceptionally shitty royal parents, had kind of no idea what an actual loving couple should be like. So they just kind of like lived their own independent lives. She loved like riding horses and stuff. He loved the idea of being king someday. So, well, they were so awkward together that they were called the stableman and the nun.
Mm.
And Leo too was the fucking nun.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was a twist.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess they eventually figured, it out with some help from his cousin Vicky, Queen Victoria, who they went to for sex advice.
Oh, Lord.
You see, their parents never gave them the talk. So cousin V did. Leo too and Marie Henriette actually like went to London and had like the talk with her. And they did end up having 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy, Leopold. Very creative. But unfortunately, the boy who would become Leo III died at the age of 9 after falling into a pond and catching pneumonia.
Oh.
The good old days, you could go outside, catch a cold, and die a few days later from complications.
I
The
just
good old
especially like how you talk about the people like they're movie sequels. Like you don't say Leo the Third, it's Leo 3. Like
I'm just
The
trying to save
Revenge.
time. Just trying to save
gotcha.
time. Yeah,
Got it. Well, you failed.
Well, now because you just added that, and I'm continuing to add to it. Now, during that time, Leo and Marie Henriette did do a lot of traveling. They went to China, went to India, did some Northern Africa. But in these trips, Leo's jealousy grew. Right? He wanted nice things. He wanted all the nice things that the other European monarchs had. And what they were getting from all these neat colonies, right? Like the UK having colonies, Egypt, India, China. There was so much wealth that Belgium wasn't getting. In 1865, Leo I dies and Leo II becomes king of the Belgians. And from henceforth on, he will only be referred to as Leo. Now, Leo had all sorts of ideas for growing Belgium's greatness. After which, only 35 years as a country really wasn't so much. So when you guys think of Belgium, which I'm sure you do like every day, what do you actually think about when you hear Belgium?
I think of Hercule Poirot and chocolate.
Oh, well, I think
I'd say
of
chocolate.
beer and waffles. So,
Yeah, see?
Belgian waffles. Nice.
Those are the 4 things.
Those are the things. Well, Leo liked stuff. And according to William II of Germany, Leo once said to him, "There really is nothing left for us kings except money." And like his father, Leo thought the key to growing Belgium's greatness was colonies. He once said, "The country must be strong, prosperous, therefore have colonies of her own, beautiful and calm." Unfortunately for Leo, though, the late 19th century was not the time to start colonizing, right? Spain and Portugal held South America, US, UK, and Spain had North America, and all the major European powers, Spain, Italy, France, UK, Germany, and Portugal, as well as the US, already had colonies in Africa. His dad tried and failed 50 times to acquire a colony. And Leo wasn't going to fight for anything, right?
Well, no,
Figuring
how
there
could
was,
he?
yeah. Well, what did he have? A country the size of Kansas.
Yeah, and have him throw a bunch of waffles at people. That's not going to win a war.
Chocolate. Well, figuring there wasn't too much left of the world to divide, Leo tried buying colonies. He thought like the empires of like Spain and Portugal and the Netherlands were in decline. So he tried to buy the Philippines from Spain. They were going to sell it to him too, except he ran out of money and didn't have money to buy it. So with no other options available, he set his sights on Africa. Now, the person he went to for this was Henry Morton Stanley. Stanley was a famous Welsh-American explorer, soldier, author, politician, colonial administrator, and all-around piece of shit. He served on both sides in the U.S. Civil War.
Oh, shit.
Well, I play both sides. That way I always come out on top.
He then became a journalist covering the Western expansion. So that was kind of his thing. He liked to go where people hadn't been before. But what made him famous was that he was hired for, I don't know why, to find a Dr. David Livingstone who had disappeared in what is now Tanzania. And when he found him, he supposedly said the famous words,
Dr. Livingstone, I presume.
For those of you who remember that, which is probably none of you. He also led an expedition across Africa through the Congo. He traveled 7,000 miles, and he was the only one of 4 Europeans on the trip to survive. Sure, they lost 3 Europeans. That must have really sucked, but they also lost 246 of his African porters.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, mostly from disease. African sleeping sickness was really fucked up back then. It was a really big thing.
Well, if those alligators look hungry, go in there and get eaten by them until they're full so that we can go across.
So we can jump on them like in Pitfall.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, Stanley recalled on that expedition that they attacked and destroyed 28 large towns and 3 or 4 score villages. So somewhere between 60 and 80 villages. Stanley's fellow explorer, Richard Burton, not the actor, was quoted as saying, Stanley shoots Negroes as if they were monkeys.
Jesus.
Yikes.
That was Stanley's success that signaled to Leo that he wanted into Africa. What were you going to say there, Acadia?
Everything about that is awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Including, why are they shooting monkeys too?
I know. I don't understand. I don't understand. Like going into, like you're the first fucking people in this place. Nobody outside of native people, indigenous people, have ever seen this place. It's the most gorgeous thing in the world. You see these animals you've never even dreamt of, and the first thing you want to do is fucking kill them.
Well, yeah, because they're fucking. I mean, not to pull a Shooey, but it's because they're white people. That's all white people know how to do.
People are the worst. People are the worst.
It's all because they didn't have fertile land, so they had to invent the plow. And once they invented the plow, they had spare time, and the only thing they could figure out to do with their spare time was murder people.
And they figured that out. All right, so Leo wanted in. He wanted in on Africa, and he wrote a letter to an aide in which he said, did not want to miss out on that magnificent African cake.
Jesus Christ.
Leo, needing someone who understood Africa, approached Stanley. Stanley, not really wanting to have anything to do with him, was holding out for England, but ended up relenting because England never called. Ugh, Queen V. Leo ended up hiring Stanley for £1,000 a year. That's something like 6 figures. I tried to do the math. I couldn't figure it out. So Leo hired Stanley to be his man in the Congo. Stanley set off for Zanzibar under the assumed name Captain Jeffrey Monkeybutt.
He did not call himself that.
Well, I can't confirm that because I don't know the name that he used, but so it's possible.
50-50 chance.
Yeah, exactly. It's either yes or no, right?
Right.
Now, in 1876, Leo started a private holding company, with him being the one that held everything. But not wanting the other world leaders to think poorly of him, he set it up as an international scientific and philanthropic company called the International African Organization. He claimed that he created it to do God's work, to spread Christianity to the uncivilized Congolese. Haven't so many wonderful things been done claiming to be done in the name of God? Do you all have a favorite atrocity that's been done in God's name?
My latest favorite one is them beheading those people in France.
Oh, that's nice. I do love that. I do love the idea.
But if you want to go grand scale, then you have to go like, the Inquisition or that kind of stuff.
Oh, Inquisition's a good one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually, believe it or not.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I see. I'm a big fan of the Crusades as far as horrible atrocities. Like most of these fucking things, they didn't even get to the Holy Land. Most of the times they didn't even get out of Europe because they ended up attacking a bunch of other fucking Catholics. And in case you didn't know, this is another you didn't know thing. In case you didn't know, during that time, 1000 CE or AD, if you're over 30, all Christians were Catholics. So there's no washing your hands clean of all this shit by saying, I'm a Methodist or I'm evangelical or whatever. We were all once in that one group, and all of our ancestors did some shitty stuff.
That's right. You Protestants are fucking quitters.
You're all part of it, too. It's a good thing that people don't let religion get in the way of shit these days, though. So at least we got that going.
Well, except for the beheadings that I just mentioned.
There's a lot of hate in this country that is tied to religion. So that's cool.
Like calling Protestants quitters.
Exactly. How
it's
dare
just
you?
Catholicism with the hard parts taken out.
I don't. I got nothing against Protestants. Some of my best friends are Protestant.
That's actually true.
Hey, Mells.
Hey, Jasmine.
You want to tell these lovely people about our show?
Well, I sure do. We're the hosts of the Damn Fine TV podcast,
a weekly show where two TV-loving ladies,
that's us,
bring you fresh insights and fun conversations about all things TV.
The name of our show is a reference to Twin Peaks.
Damn fine coffee.
But we discuss a wide variety of shows, everything from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina to American Horror Story,
Westworld, Umbrella Academy, Lovecraft Country, and tons more.
And now for the obligatory clip segment of the ad.
What even are the tardigrade mysteries?
I need a timeline!
That's getting a trash flag.
Who is in you?
Confused? Better subscribe and listen to the show.
We've got new episodes every Wednesday.
Just search Damn Fine TV wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'll be there.
And come hang out with us on Instagram at Damn Fine TV. We share TV news, celebrities that make us thirsty, and have fun polls.
And if you're watching TV,
make sure it's Damn Fine TV.
Hey there, it's Acadia here, and my partner, Hannah Selector, is going to tell us a little bit about the show we do together.
Do you like horror movies, Stephen King, ranting and raving? Join us for a meeting of the Castle Rock Historical Society. Tuesdays, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Over time, Leo would end up spinning off the Committee for the Study of the Upper Congo, which was actually part of the International Africa Association, and he would rename it the International Association of the Congo, or the Congo Society, a fully for-profit company. In another letter from Leo to an aide, he wrote, "Care must be taken not to let it be obvious that the Congo Association and the Africa Association are different. The public doesn't grasp that." So he was keeping up all the appearances that he was still there to help, but he had no intention of helping anybody. except himself. The first resource Leo helped himself to was ivory. Ivory is very expensive, and elephants were apparently still plentiful and not too hard to kill. So that's a good business model. During the peak of the ivory craze, they were killing 250 elephants a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And Leo wrote to Stanley in 1881 that, I want you to purchase all of the ivory which is to be found in the Congo. Well, Stanley tried. By this time, he'd already started to build a private army of indigenous people equipped with 1,000 rifles and cannons. And they started storming the country, killing elephants, buying ivory from villagers who were killing them, or sometimes they'd just take it, whatever. And from what I read, so I'm going to say this up front, it depends on like which like entry
source
in Wikipedia you're looking at. Yeah, like the specific stories about Stanley sounded like they were very redeeming of him, whereas the stories that just told about the genocide and stuff were not. But from what I read, Stanley thought that he was just there to kind of open up the Congo to international trade. But Leo had bigger plans. He wanted a full-blown nation that belonged to him, not to Belgium or the people of Belgium, but him personally. And he admitted as much to Stanley, stating that it is a question of creating a new state as big as possible and of running it. It is clearly understood in this project there is no question of granting the slightest political power to the Negroes. That would be absurd. Yes, that would be absurd. So Stanley, believing he understood the Congolese, since they were such pals and all, I guess from him killing so many.
You learn a lot about people from killing them all the time.
You know how many people's insides I've looked at?
Jesus Christ.
Lord.
Creating a state in this way would be madness, and told the king, on the contrary, they, meaning the Congolese, will retain their own tribal chiefs. All right, so Stanley ended up listening to Leo and traveling throughout the Congo and getting tribe after tribe to sign over their rights. 450 tribes in all. Stanley would pull shit like take out a magnifying glass and like hold it up to something and then see it go on fire. And the natives were like, ooh, it was like when C-3PO showed up at the Ewoks. That's
Right.
basically what he was like. It's like Stanley claimed he could fucking control the sun. And he used to bring this, he had a hammer and he would smash rocks, and he was known as the rock crusher. So
he's the original The Rock, huh?
Yes, apparently. So that the poor indigenous people, not wanting to be punished, by this guy who could control the fucking sun, signed the treaties that gave up their rights.
It would have been funny if he did it backwards and set the treaties on fire.
I had something here for you to sign. I don't know what it is. But the treaties gave up their rights to the land, the waterways, and over time they would have them. They would have these later proclamations where they ended up taking away game, fishing, anything from the forest, mining, anything they farmed, everything. These are treaties the indigenous people didn't even know what they were fucking signing, considering that they didn't have a written language at the fucking time.
It's like did you ever see the Eddie Izzard thing where he's like, where Europe claimed Africa with the clever use of flags. I claim this in the name of England. Well, we fucking live here. He's like, well, do you have a flag?
Apparently not. But even with this scumbaggery, that's a word that I'm coining, Leo didn't think that Stanley was doing enough. And in 1882, he wrote a letter to the governor there that the terms of the treaty Stanley has made with the natives do not satisfy me. There must at least be an added article to the effect that they delegate us their sovereign rights. The treaties must be as brief as possible, and in a couple of articles must grant us everything. Leo understood that these treaties were necessary to give his actions the look of legitimacy. So if anybody ever questioned, what are your rights? He would say, I have all these great contracts. Now, what do you think was the first country to recognize Leo's ownership of the Congo, which Leo ironically named the Congo Free State?
I'm going to guess America.
Wow. I'm
Woo!
going with,
Red, white,
I'm
and
going
blue,
with
baby.
US of A.
Making America great again. While it was nice of Chester A. Arthur, one of our more forgotten presidents, to give Leo the jolt he needed to push the point to the rest of the world that the Congo was his, the rest of the world wasn't so sure. The U.S. ambassador to Belgium had written to Arthur that the king's aim is to found a chain of hospices, both hospitable and scientific, which should serve as a means of information and aid to travelers. So he was putting in a bunch of rest stops, like with Roy Rogers and Annie Ann's and shit.
So, to be fair, I mean, how would anybody know except what was written down? I mean, were there any, was the New York Times heading over there and reporting on all this shit?
No.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Anderson Cooper wasn't over there.
Yeah, there was nobody sent over.
So
Nobody
it kind of makes sense.
Newsmax headed that way.
If the U.S. didn't have any colonies and didn't have any presence in Africa.
Well, U.S. just had Liberia.
So that would actually kind of make sense because the Europeans that were all over there knew that it was a bunch of bullshit.
A lot of them had a sense. Kaiser from Germany was like, yeah, we were just scammed after the part that we're about to get to. So lucky for Leo, the other leaders of Europe and the United States decided in 1885 that they should meet to make sure how Africa would be split. You see, as late as the early 1870s, Africa was under 80% indigenous rule. And that would just not do for the Europeans, right? So, but the Europeans had learned a lot during the colonial period. Like they learned that you could use your armies to fight the other countries that want colonies, or you could use your armies to fight the colonies. So they decided to put it towards a more profitable use. And I think that was probably a smart idea. It's shit, but it's a smart idea. You know, saving them the hassle of fighting amongst themselves. Now they could concentrate all that military power towards subduing the locals. But don't get me wrong, these people were monsters, right? They wanted what was best for the people of Africa. Well, they did want it to seem that way, right? That was a whole idea with the International African Association to come across as more philanthropic and less slavey.
Oy.
Now, Leo was able to bullshit his fellow European leaders and was recognized as the sole owner of the Congo Free State. Like I said, the Kaiser knew he was full of shit, but he didn't do anything about it. He even got the other nations to chip in, create a fund for him to use to build a rail line for his army. This would help his army go fight the Arab slavers. There were some Arab slavers in Central Africa, but this wasn't to free the Congolese people, of course. It was just free them from the Arabs so that they could enslave them, but without using the S word. With that little acquisition, Leo acquired a territory about 80 times the size of Belgium, with an estimated population of about 20 million indigenous Congolese people. And Leo was going to get every fucking cent he could out of this place and the people. Going back to your little flag thing, the flag for the Congo Free State was a gold star on a dark blue background. A dark azure background. The star represented the light the Belgians were bringing to the dark of Africa. It was so nice of them.
Ugh.
It's getting
Everything
bad.
is awful.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
The true terrible stuff isn't even until the next episode.
Ugh.
All right. Leo needed more capital. So first he took out a loan from Belgium for infrastructure that they never
Oh, it's infrastructure
built.
week.
It is. Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
And in exchange, Leo promised to give the Congo to Belgium when he died. You know, being the king, you would think that, I don't know. But when it came to riches, the ivory wasn't cutting it. Leo had used some of his own money to buy the ivory, and he needed more investment because he needed to expand the operation.
How many pianos did those fucking people need?
That's a lot of pianos. So what he did was he created what they called concessions. So what this would do is he would sell a section of land to a private company, and then they would be responsible for everything having to do with that land. Basically, they would take ownership of any people that were on that land, basically, and be responsible and for a certain amount of output and stuff. And basically, Leo would take like a fee, right? He would get 50% of the take, plus he had fees and taxes. So he was getting paid all that without having to fucking do anything. And he kept the tastiest little swath of land for himself, a 250 square kilometer or 97,000 square miles if you're from Liberia, Myanmar, or the United States, the only 3 fucking countries in the world that don't use the metric system. He called this land the Crown Domain, and he called himself its proprietor. How quaint, like he was running like the town fucking florist or something. I'm the proprietor. In another startlingly lucky turn for fucking Leo the Beard, there was the rubber boom. You'll see his picture in episode 2.
Oh.
There was a rubber boom in the 1890s. Bicycles and cars were becoming a thing, and electricity was spreading all over the world, and you needed something to coat the wires, right? So rubber was booming. And guess where most of the world's or almost all of the world's rubber supply was? Yes.
In the
Rubberton.
Congo.
How lucky for the Congolese it was in the Congo Free State.
Ugh.
Rubber trees covered half the country. And this would be how Leo would finance everything for the next 20 years. His cities, palaces, statues, monuments, all with rubber. But he had to act fast because competitors had taken rubber plants and were starting plantations in Asia and South America, but it would take time for them to get online. So he had to get as much as he could out now while he had a fucking monopoly.
It sucks to have to be like, oh, well, we're going to be rich as soon as this tree grows.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we all meet back here in 10 years. Agreed?
Agreed. And the thing that was great for Leo was rubber takes like no investment. You just have to have the fucking tree, and it takes people, which Leo had 20 million of, right? All you needed was a knife. Basically, rubber is made when like the runny sap from a rubber tree hardens, and the way that people would gather it you would cut like a slit in the rubber tree, and then sometimes you would climb up to where they hadn't slit it before. Like fucking people would climb like 100 feet up to create these little slits. And then the stuff drips out, and you would catch it in like a bowl if you were lucky, or a leaf. Fucking people were catching it in leaves. Then they would rub it on themselves like suntan lotion or something. Then when it hardened, they would fucking pull it off.
Oh my God, like a Band-Aid?
Yeah, like a full chest or back-sized super sticky Band-Aid that getting pulled off your body multiple times a day.
That is a terrible way to get waxed.
Yeah, right? Yeah. People would pay good money to have that done to them now.
How smooth would you be? Well, couple that with the ever-growing quotas.
My bicycle tire is full of hair and skin.
Bad shit was going to go down. This time in the Congo is known as the Red Rubber Terror. I guess you can kind of think of it as like red rubber is like a 19th century blood diamonds. In addition to each concession company's army, because they each had their own little army, Leo also started the Force Publique. This was his own private army, and by 1900 had grown to 19,000 strong. I know, but why do you guys think Leo was able to get 19,000 Congolese to join him in oppressing the other people?
Women and children, probably.
I mean,
so that's my thought, at least.
You're going to do whatever you're told if the alternative is that you're going to get killed.
Yeah, but but you got to think about how many people that is.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but like, I mean, I'm sure that the both of you would give me up in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah. I would give
See?
you up, not Shooey.
Yeah. Aw. Same here, Mells.
Yay.
You sons of bitches.
It's a mutiny.
No, I know there'll never be a mutiny because then you guys would have to do everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
shut up. You're lucking out with these two-parters, man.
Just because you tearfully write scripts on topics that make you sad.
Shut up.
I need to learn more about the metric system.
The next one's on Leo Amadeus.
Amadeus.
Well, I'll tell you, a big part of how he did it was he created a child army.
Okay, I was half right.
You were.
Yep.
So what they would do is they would take kids whose parents they had killed in many cases, or kids that were just orphaned because their parents died of disease or something, and they would take them from their extended families and their villages and move them like hundreds of miles away. This way they had nobody, so their only loyalty would be to the state and to Leo. These were literally the only state-funded schools in all of the Congo. His military schools to create fucking slavers. Now, these people had a few popular methods to make sure people were doing their work. So these guys were in charge of making sure that the villages produced what they were told to produce. And if they didn't, there were ramifications. So a few popular methods they used were they would kidnap the chief of a village or all of the wives in a village, and they would return them when a specified bounty of rubber was gathered. Of course, sometimes captives would die, but you got to break some eggs to make some rubber. They would fucking whip you with a shakot. And a shakot is a whip made from long strips of dried rhino or hippo hides. So it's not bad enough that they're fucking whipping the crap out of these people. They needed to kill rhinos and hippos to do it. And this just keeps getting fucking worse. See, I told you this is terrible. 25 lashes would fucking knock you out, and 100 would kill you. Another thing they like doing, which they actually became quite famous for, and we'll talk about, is they would cut people's hands off.
God.
Not really sure how this would help productivity, and I guess they came to that conclusion also. So they instead would cut off the hands of family members, like wives and children, as punishment for not making your rubber quota.
This is heavy, man.
They would also sometimes chain them up. Take all this isn't slavery pretense away and just own it.
Aye.
One of the things that happened a lot too, they would come in, burn a village, take all the livestock and the food, thus making the villagers dependent on the state because they now had nowhere to live and no food, forcing them to gather the rubber. No rubber, no food.
So
yes,
this was these people knew what they were doing.
Yes. But all right, I'm gonna give a little something away that I was gonna save till the end. But Belgium did all of this, with never more than 1,500 Belgians in the Congo.
God.
So this was all done because the concession companies controlled all their land. So all Leo really had to worry about was his little prime area in the middle. And he used the force publique to do that.
Well, fuck them.
Yeah. Well, here are some lines from a soldier's journal. All right. This is a kind of a taste of what we'll get next time. 10th of April, 1895. 6 natives killed, village set on fire, dinner, then return. 25 April, arrived in ITK, burned the village. The same at Yambi, Ilongo, burned the village and killed a native. Arrived at Bokolo at 6 p.m., burned. 10th of June, we reached Yambisi. We sent some groups of soldiers ahead. They returned some hours later with 11 heads and 9 prisoners.
Oh.
22 June. They brought us 3 prisoners in the morning and 3 more towards the evening, along with 3 heads. A man running through the forest, screaming for his wife and child, was shot by one of our sentries. They brought us his head. Never have I seen such an expression of despair and fear. We set fire to Yambisi.
Okay, so 2 things.
Yes.
1, what did they do during May?
I selected specific ones.
Because they went from April right to June.
Because I selected the worst ones. Did you want me to read like 50 entries to a journal?
Well, no. It just seemed like they took a month off.
I just skipped around. They didn't take a month off.
The other thing is that all this stuff would be great if it was happening to, like, you know, Nazis or some shit like that. But this is
sure. Yeah.
I like it when our stories have better victims.
I know. So do I.
But hey, the world is a horrible place and everybody needs to know it.
Yeah. So to touch back on with the hand thing, the Belgians were also super tight with cash and they didn't like waste. So they would force the soldiers to account for every bullet they used. And they were only supposed to use their guns to squelch rebellion. So to prove that they used the bullets for what they were intended, they would cut the right hand off of their victims. They would then let it dry over a fire so they could easily transport it and bring it in as proof. But sometimes soldiers would miss a shot or use the gun to hunt or technically poach or steal because, remember, the animals all belong to Leo. They would still need to account for those bullets or they would be punished. So what they would then do is raid a village, chop off some hands to have, just in case.
Handy.
Ugh. I cannot do these horrors justice. There are a bunch of firsthand accounts of what went down in the Congo under Leo, but unfortunately, that'll have to wait till next time. So to wrap up this episode, what are y'all's thoughts on King Leo 2 so far? All around great guy?
Now, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Other than, I mean, I'm sure that this is not, unfortunately, a unique story. You know what I mean?
I would bet the British in Rhodesia is just as bad, but, it's diamonds instead of fucking rubber, or South Africa.
I mean, it would also seem like it would have been a fine idea to go, hey, if you go get this rubber, you'll get money and food. Like, if he had just paid the people, it would have been cheaper than paying the soldiers, I bet. Because they didn't have any money. What the fuck did they care?
Yeah, but the soldiers probably just got paid with, they probably didn't make much either. And they probably, but they were fed all the time and they had a place to live and shit like that.
And got dysentery. Everything about this is terrible.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
That's the perfect story for Strangeful Things. There's no redeeming quality of it whatsoever. But I will say, from a hot take standpoint, you're never going to hear me say that it's worse to kill an animal than a person. A person is always worse.
Oh, yeah, a person's worse.
All right.
Killing animals is still terrible. But
yeah. If you kill animals with abandon, then you're probably more apt to kill people too. But
you probably want to kill people anyway. You're just using that as a,
I'm just saying I'm not one of those people that would be like, oh, I like animals better than people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, specific ones, sure, but not in general.
Right.
Right.
Like, I like this cat more than that person, but,
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
Right, but the animal abuse is terrible too. I mean, killing 250 elephants a day.
Ugh.
I mean, it's
man,
just
that would be
gross.
a fun time travel thing. Go back and teach the elephants to fight.
Be like
Put,
Dumbo's mom. Be like Dumbo's mom when she was fighting the circus guys. You can tell what I've been watching lately.
Yeah, I can tell. All right, y'all. Well, if you want to get in touch with us to talk about horrible things in Africa or Acadia's love of cats and not specific people, you can reach me at Shooey Time on Twitter and Instagram. Acadia at Acadia on Twitter, at Acadia Einstein on Instagram, Senator Acadia on Twitch, and Acadia Meat Pants on OnlyFans. Mells 84 on pardon?
Nothing. Just I'm glad that you're talking it up.
Mells Bells. You can reach Mells on Twitter at MellsBells84. You can reach her on Instagram at Superficial Mells. And you can reach the show on Twitter, Strangeful Pod, and on Instagram at Strangeful Things.
Yes, and wow, I'm sorry. I'm just still stewing over this terrible fucker,
Oh, it
Leo.
gets worse. It gets worse.
It does. I know. I'm also, I guess, trying to mentally prepare myself for part 2. But if you would like to rate and review us, you can do so on any of the podcast platforms where you consume this wonderful media.
Yep. And don't rate the people. Don't think that you're rating King Leopold when you rate us.
Yes.
Yeah, please don't compare us with
Don't
him.
shoot the messenger.
Please. Yes. Please do
and
not.
if you I don't know, if you ran into if you saw one of those things on Twitter that said if you like this post you'll get money and you got money, then you can go to patreon.com/strangeful and support us that way. I've got a lot of stickers to send out this month. Woo! Thanks to you beautiful patrons, and we just did some bonus chill time content last night. So good for us. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound more excited.
I said Shooey was great on that.
Yeah. The other Shooey.
Make sure
The other
you
Shooey.
Yeah. Make sure you count your blessings, even though it's kind of hard to after listening to that.
And after hearing this, it's kind of hard to keep on flapping, but keep trying.
Bye-bye.